like to introduce Mel Cossette. And Mel is coming to us from the state of Washington, from Edmonds Community College. Mel is in charge of a National Science Foundation center there. She has 20 years experience in manufacturing education, and she's going to be addressing the importance of material selection and materials in renewable energy programs. She has a strong background in curriculum and instruction and serves as an ABET program evaluator, and we're very lucky to have Mel here speaking. Mel?
Good morning. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. I have to find my presentation here. Oops. There. All right. Anyway, you heard I'm from Edmonds Community College. That's where our Material Science Center is housed. We are also funded by the ATE, which is the Advanced Technological Education. And for those of you who have been funded by ATE, you know the opportunities that we are given and the different types of programs that we can do. Our center is focused on 4 key activities. One is core competencies for materials technicians. Those are technicians who handle materials in different types of manufacturing sectors, companies, industry, and those kinds of areas, including maritime and nanotech. We do a web-based modular curriculum website that you can go on, and throughout the I think towards the end we have our website up, and it is also available to anybody who would like to go online and get the information from there. We also do professional development around materials technology, and we disseminate as much information as we can, which those are the 4 key areas for ATE centers and NSF projects. One of the things I like to tell people is that we are actually, as Kathy said, we're located in Washington State. We are in Lynnwood, Washington, which is just north of Seattle. And we are the only 2-year program in material science in our state, and we are quite proud of the fact that we have been able to pull this program off for the last 6 years and still be in contention for different programs and the model for different composite technology programs that are being developed across the country. One of the reasons why we included sustainability in green manufacturing material selection was due to our advisory committee. We have a very active advisory committee for our program, and they wanted the students to learn about the importance of material selection early on in the process and the design, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I don't want to go over and talk. Adam did a great job about talking about the different types of concepts and processes that are out there that students could learn, so I'm going to stick a little bit closer to ISO 14001 only because it's a good example and it's easy to kind of talk about one, but there are so many that students could learn from. So sustainability. One of the things we want to talk about is sustainability. How many of you have heard, energy conservation, green carbon footprint? How many of you have heard those terms? I think just about everybody's heard of them. And you get to the point where you finally have to get it all the way down to the lowest common denominator to our students, say this is what sustainability is. It is the ability to provide for human needs, food, clothing, shelter, while having a minimum impact on the environment. That is the key, because increasing sustainability involves the restoration of our habitat. So what's the worst that can happen? That's another question we pose to our students. And sustainability requires, I'm sorry? Starbucks goes out of business. That's true, but you can't say that. See, I'm from Seattle, so we love Starbucks. Although I don't drink it very often, it's pretty strong, but you are correct. Sustainability requires a proactive strategic response. Loss of resources and habitat is relentless and it's difficult to reverse. And although ISO 14001 cannot completely solve all the global problems and issues going on, it can help organizations to use resources more prudently and prevent pollution. Now remember, we don't tell our students this is good, bad, right, or wrong. We share with them that this is a potential opportunity that they might want to study in case they go out into industry, because many of our students do internships for different companies throughout the Puget Sound area. So What is 14,001? Just for conversation's sake, how many of you are familiar with ISO 9000? Remember when ISO 9000 came out? Everybody was familiar with it, and everybody thought they wanted to do this. It's a quality control standard, and it's still heavily used, or the basis is still heavily used. But it's considered, 14,000 is considered a sister specification to ISO 9000, 9001. And it's an international standard that provides a framework for organizations to develop a systematic approach to prevent pollution and encourages the development of environmental management system. That's a mouthful to say that this is their environmental management system elements. And if you go through this, they talk about environmental, they talk about legal, objectives and targets, and it kind of goes through the whole gambit of implementation and operation. What this is meant to do for our students is to let them know this is not something that is easy to get. Once a company or an area gets it, then you don't want to lose it. I liken this to, how many of you have programs that are ABET accredited in your institutions? Do you know? Anybody? It's very similar to that. Or if you're familiar with ABET at all, it's a highly regarded, highly competitive way to have your program evaluated, not the institution, the program. And when you do that, you never want to lose it. And it's very similar. We again talked to our students about once you get an ISO 14001 registration, you don't want to lose it as a company. So we try and tell them this is not a fly-by-night. This is not just because energy, conservation, green, and all those terms I said earlier are now coming into play. It's an important area for sustainability. We also talked to our students about the 8 guiding principles of engineering for sustainable development. Now, our engineering tech folks also use this, along with our construction program folks. They're learning about sustainability in the construction trade and that sort of thing. And we encourage our students when they're looking at different parts of their programs, to look beyond your own locality and immediate future, to be innovative and be creative, to seek engagement from all stakeholders, everyone who might have some sort of stakeholder, something to put on the table, if you will, that we encourage them to talk to them. And we use these guiding principles when a lot of our students in our second year have to do a second year project, and it's from beginning to end. So we try and get them to look at these different principles and use them in the development of their project. And one of the things I want to point out here is the last sentence, is reconsider design such that end-of-life waste is effective raw materials for the next generation. That piece is something that we also teach when we are out doing outreach with the K through 12 and the high school folks and the middle school folks. One of the things I did not bring with me on this trip was pencils. If you've ever seen pencils, and kids just love them, because we will be doing outreach, and we will have a pencil in our hand, and we'll be talking the whole time, and the students will want to know what that pencil is. And so we ask them, what's it made of? And they'll give me all these different guesses and things. And when we say to them, it's what you're wearing, and they look down and they see themselves, and they look at us and go, blue jeans? We'll go, yep, they're recycled blue jeans. That's what brings this particular sentence to life for them, is reconsider design such that the end-of-life waste is effective raw materials for the next generation. So if you kind of picture that, that's how students can really relate to it. And so we've been working with this outreach piece to teach them about if something is a waste, what can you do with it next? So one of the things that we have been looking into for, again, to teach our students about the ISO 14001 is currently, these are certifications globally. The United States has about 8,081, as you can tell. It's been a little difficult to get some up-to-date information from them. I'm not sure why it has been a little bit difficult. It's almost like, there's other countries that are way ahead of us, but I'm sure that there's a lot more companies that we are not familiar with that are actually trying to vie for the 14,001 certification. So what is ISO 14001? It's a fundamental understanding of certification that provides for the creation of a culture that continually encourages and supports environmental solutions that prevent or minimize pollution. That's really the basics, and that's really what we try and teach our students to understand it. Do we ask them to go for the certification? Do we ask them to go for a company and talk about it? No, really what our advisory committee wanted them to know is that such an animal exists, and to be thinking about things in that area. So But along with everything else that we know of, there are some limitations. So we also share this with our students, that being ISO 14001 is voluntary.